Good morning, good afternoon. Hello, wherever you are. I'm Lindsay, the Frugal Crafter, and we are going to look at some refillable art supplies today, and some that aren't refillable, but I think you get a good amount of mileage from them. So, if you want to hop in the chat, say where you're from, please let me know if you can see my desk and hear me. That would be great. And we'll get going in just a second here. It is World Watercolor Month. I know some of you are participating in World Watercolor Month, and I hope you're doing well if you are doing the challenge. Uh, Hopefully everyone can hear me. I see the little green buttons, say the little green dot saying that my microphone's working, but you just never know. Oh, good. Marie can hear me. Wonderful. And this is kind of just an impromptu live stream. And if you have questions, I will take a few breaks during the stream to collect them. If you do think of a question as we're going along, just type the word question in all caps. And that way I'll see it when I scroll back and look for questions. And I'll gonna just kind of jump right in here. Of course, visit with each other. It's a nice way to break up the week to have some time just to hang out, and we'll get going. So I was sent this sketchbook here to review by Lightwish. They're the company that does, well, I think they are somehow affiliated with Paul Rubens and ArtX, but they had this little sketchbook here with 100% cotton paper, and it was very affordable. And they asked if I'd be interested in reviewing it, and I said sure, because we're always looking for cotton watercolor paper. And the thing that I really liked about this was that you can take the pages out, and you can also you can put new pages in. So what I thought when I was using this paper was that it reminded me a lot of the B Company's watercolor paper, the 100% cotton paper that we all know and love. This was really popular probably about 5 or 6 years ago, on probably longer than that even. It was very popular because it was very affordable. You would get 50 sheets of 140-pound paper, and it would run around $16. Now it's up to about 20, but it's available now. There was a while when you couldn't get it because the company got sold, and the company that bought B paper was actually Royal and Langnickel out of the USA. So now the paper is made in the USA, and it used to be made in Malaysia. I don't know when the switch took over, because I think I got this paper from Consumer Crafts before I heard it was being sold, and I got a really good price on it. But I do have some of the Malaysian paper here. It does seem to be about the same, honestly, but I haven't purchased it like super recently. So if anybody has and wants to weigh in, that would be great. The reviews on Amazon are still good. So please let us know if you've purchased this in like the last year or so. Let us know how that is. And just for fun, I actually punched punched some of this paper, and I wanted to see if it would fit in the sketchbook, because the pages that come with it are about a half an inch smaller on each side, but it does fit in, and it will just close with this. So if you use up the paper that comes in the sketchbook, you can refill it with the B paper, the B 100% cotton paper that's 6x9, or whatever paper you want to cut down. But I like that because I do have a fair amount of that paper, and it's nice to know that I could refill it if I wanted to take this with me. I don't think I would mix them right now, just because having some wider papers and some smaller papers will make the papers want to dent. But I'm going to put this guy back in here anyway. One of my World Watercolor Month things. So a couple weeks ago, I was looking for some sepia, it's actually sepia. I looked up the the pronunciation because I say it both ways, and I'm like, I'm never sure which is right. I had looking for some sepia pens, and these kept coming up, and they're by Bienyo. And I had used the Bienyo fine liners in the past. In fact, I still have a couple of them, and these are from like 2016, and this one I haven't used very much, but it hasn't dried out. This one I have used a lot, and it's still plugging along. It's getting dry, but it still has ink in them. So I thought, I've been using this one pretty regularly, and it's still going strong after, oh my gosh, about 8 years. So I think I'm safe to try their sepia ones. So that's what I did. And they come in this little pouch. I also, my pen help. I'll take out what didn't come in here. They came in this little pouch, which I thought was really nice. I didn't know it was going to come with this, and I paid about $12 for my set. It went on sale on Prime Day for $8 or $9. But I thought for $12, it's a great price. Now it is actually, I think, $13, but maybe it's $13.99. I'm not sure. But you get 8 fine liners, you get 2 brush pens and 2 sign pens. And so the difference between a sign pen and a brush pen is the brush pen's like a felt tip, and you can get fine lines and you can get wide lines. The sign pen is this is just the bigger one. The sign pen actually has a flexible plastic tip. It's kind of like the Funosuke pens by, I think it's Kuretake. Here's a sign pen right here. There's a extra small and a small, but they've got like a little plastic brush nib. So I think they're a little bit more resilient, but you're not going to get as fast of an ink flow as you are from the felt tip ones. And then you get your basic fine liners from 0.05 all the way up to a 1, which is, or maybe it's up to an 8. No, you got a 1 in there. So it's a good variety, in my opinion. And the other thing that I like about these pens is that they put the sizes on the ends. So sometimes you get these pens and they don't, and you have to look at the side of the barrel. And I tend to throw these in a cup when I'm working with them on my desk, and it's nice to be able to just see all of the ends there. Now, I want to show some other options too, because I know we don't, even though fine liners can last quite a long time, we don't always want to do that. We may have one color or one size rather in the set that we use up way faster than all the other ones. So you might want to buy some ink and put it into a refillable product. And the nice thing about that is you're not worried about running out. You don't save them for best, use them all the time. And one of the things that I've really been enjoying is this Dr. Peach Martin Sepia ink. It comes in it's actually a liquid watercolor, but you want to get the radiant ones that are in these little rectangular jars, because the hydrous liquid watercolors will clog your pens. And these are a dye-based product, so they could fade, but I tend to use them in my sketchbook, so I don't worry about it. Now this here is it's a fountain pen ink, but it's India Black fountain pen safe ink that is waterproof. And this is my second bottle of this. It's kind of hard to find. I don't know if it's been discontinued or not. I did find it on Amazon, but it's gotten kind of expensive. It's around, well, probably not if you're a connoisseur of fountain pens. You probably spend way more money on your ink than I do, but I think with shipping, it's probably going to be around just under $20. So it's definitely more than it used to be, but it works great. And I've been so happy with it that I've got another bottle of it. And it takes me a while to use up a bottle of ink. So I have put that ink in some of my fountain pens. I've also put them in a reusable brush pen that I have. And I like that quite a bit. It's nice to know that I can just refill it as needed. Now, the downside to the refillable brush pen is it can be kind of messy to refill. I guess that's the big downside. It can be a bit messy, and if it runs out, it could be inconvenient, but it's convenient if you have the bottle of ink. I don't know. I guess there's not really many downsides to refillable products. But I think I'll show you some examples of what I've done with these things, and then we'll test them out and maybe do some artwork. And it's World Watercolor Month. Today's prompt is pull. And at first I thought, I have a pinball machine. It's got the thing you have to pull out to make the pinballs go, but it's not that visually interesting. So then I was thinking, what about a taffy pull? And I just really couldn't find any pictures of taffy being pulled. And then I thought somebody being pulled on a water ski. So I think that's what I might go with. It might be a bit ambitious for a live stream, but we'll see. We'll see if we get there. Right here, I just swatched out the new pens. There, I also found a Sepia Pentel pocket brush pen, and this has actual hairs on it. So it's not like the brush pen that's in the biennial set. It's actually kind of like a real brush pen. It's it's brush hairs. And so to refill it, you would unscrew the back, and you've got a pretty generous sized cartridge. This pen came with 2 cartridges, so one's in the pen and the other one is an extra. And I got this on Amazon. It was on sale for like $11 about a week or two ago. Same time I bought the biennial fine liners. And You can also get these on Blick, and you can buy refills on Blick. You can get 2 of the refills for like $3.50 on Blick, so it's not too bad, and the refills are fairly big. I bet there's probably a way to just to eyedropper fill this where you just like fill the barrel. You probably get like an O-ring and some silicone grease. I've never done that, but it probably can be done. But I do know that Pentel and Kuretake make brush pens like this that you can refill. Another option is a pen that I found. It's actually in a 5-pack, and I put my Dr. P.H. Martin Sepia ink in it, and these are by New Bestie, and they screw closed, and they do have a little rubber ring on them already, which is great to prevent leaks in your bag. Now, it can still leak out of the tip and get into the cover, but it shouldn't leak out of the pen itself. I store these upright when I have them in my studio, but if I'm going to go paint, I'll throw it in my travel bag and not worry about it too much. I think just prolonged storage on their side could be problematic, but to go out and paint, I don't think it's going to be a big deal. But the thing I like about the Sepia ink from Dr. P.H. Martin is I just like that tone. It's kind of in between like the Biennial Sepia and the Pentel Sepia, because a Pentel Sepia is actually pretty dark. And I've got the regular black Pentel pocket brush pen just to compare it, and I'll just do a little squiggle so you can see. I keep wanting to unscrew these, but these actually pull on and off. It's the same pen, but it's with black, and you can see the black is really dark black. I really like that. But their sepia is pretty dark too, and I almost kind of wish the sepia was a little bit warmer, like I really like the biennial tone of sepia, where it's a little bit more sanguine. But that's, personal preference. If you're like, geez, Lindsay, that black doesn't look that much different than sepia, I don't think I need both. I would say go for the black because the black is cheaper. You can get this pen on Amazon for like $9 with 2 refills, and then you can get a pack of 12 refills for like $8 on Amazon. If you buy the Japan import, they don't have. Actually, no, they do have English writing on the back. So get the Japan import on Amazon if you want the best deal. But Blick also has them if you don't, if you have an order going or you prefer to shop at Blick. I think their prices are pretty good too. Just if you're on Amazon, look around because they also sell these. You'll see these for like $20 or more on Amazon because there's different sellers. So I just wanted to say that if I knew that this was just not that much different than the black, I probably would have skipped it. And I don't know. I might get refills for it. I probably will get refills for it because I do like to have a brown ink, but it's not that different. The thing I do like about these brush pens, though, because they're a real brush, you don't have to worry about the bristles wearing down and then getting blunt, kind of like your felt tip brush pens will do that. The sign pens don't tend to get blunt, which is nice. So it's nice to have some variety, but it's also nice to know what you like and then, buy what you like, refill in a refillable format, and then you can keep refilling it. But I think these pens are really nice too. The tips are bigger, I think. Let me just double check. Maybe they're not. Actually, no, the tips are exactly the same. So if you can find a fountain pen safe waterproof ink, you're good to go with these pens. There, of course, just got the mess factor, but I don't know. I tend to get inky no matter what. So I did this with I used the black Pentel pen on this, and I was able to get all the like fine lines that I wanted to and all of the thick lines that I wanted to, and that worked out really well. I used the Biennial pens here, and they don't seem to have a red undertone at all to me, or an orangey undertone. They're definitely not as orangey as like a sanguine pen. I know Pitt pens had a beautiful wallet set of sanguine, sepia, and black, 3 different sets. And I really like those sanguine pens, but they were definitely more of an orange. And I would say these are very similar to the Pitt sepia, but it's been a while since I've used them. So, take it with a grain of salt. And then with this one, I used both the Pentel sepia pens, like in the darker shadows here, because it is a darker, almost black brown ink. And then I used the Biennial ones for the lighter, the finer lines here. So they both work great. And to sign my name, I use that. So really good options there. Now I want to show you some options with the Sepia watercolor ink in a reusable fountain pen. So I have these 2 fountain pens that I've used to put my Dr. P.H. Martin's ink in. And something that's kind of fun when you do use a liquid watercolor or an ink that does what do you want to say, that does get soluble in water, is that you can draw, and then when you add your water to it, your lines kind of soften up. So this pen is really nice. I think it's discontinued. You still can find some on Amazon, but it is the Jane Davenport Incredible pen, and it comes with a cartridge in it that you can refill with whatever you want, and it does come with some cartridges that are water-based and water soluble. And I like the weight of it. I just like writing with it. The caps, let's see, these caps just snap right on. And I keep this in my sketching bag, and I don't have any problem with leaking, but you can see, I mean, you do get a little bit of leaking sometimes. And when that happens, I'll just go in and I'll wipe it out with a Q-tip, or if it's like stained, I'll go in with some rubbing alcohol rather than water, just because I think sometimes water could corrode stuff, and the alcohol dries so fast that that doesn't seem to happen. And I also like these affordable pens. These are the Jinhao Sharks in the fine tip, not extra fine. I don't know how the extra fine is, but I figure with my penchant for clogging things, to go with the fine tip would be better. And I really like how the ink flows with this, and you get 12 in a pack for like $18, $18.99. And I bought these on Amazon. And I'll link everything that I've mentioned in the video description if you're curious. If you do buy through those links, I do earn a small commission. Please don't feel obligated to buy anything. This is about buying, if you are going to buy something, buy things that are reusable, but obviously use the things you have. And maybe one of these pens you can use with the other things you have, and that's great. But if you've got some pens sitting in a box and you just haven't used them, just drag them out now, and start doodling with them, start swatching them, see how they react with water, see how they work with your watercolors. The best supplies you can use are the ones you already have. And I think I've pretty much gone through all the little refillable things I wanted to go through. Oh, I wanted to show you using the refillable Dr. P.H. Martin ink, the kind of looks that I've gotten with those, because I have used them quite a bit. Let's see. Oh, that's an Elegant Writer. That's not a refillable pen, but it is a fun pen to use. Let's see. I think I used a Sepia ink pen with that. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. But this one right here, I sketched with the Dr. P.H. Martin Sepia ink with the Jane Davenport pen. And I like that, I can go in after it's dry. I could put those fine details on the tree, but I sketched everything in and then started adding watercolor to it. And those brown lines just become part of the picture. And I think it gives it a very vintage look. And it kind of is a little bit softer than ink and wash, which I like. Same here. I wasn't that thrilled with these sketches, but same idea. I did the same thing here. And again, when I wanted the sharp line, I just go in afterwards and I draw over it. So definitely there's options. So if, say, you were doing our project that we did for Michael's last week, the yellow iris, if you didn't have a waterproof pen, just do your watercoloring first, and then after it's all dry, do your fine lining, and that's totally fine. This one was done with a sepia pen, and then I just used some golden watercolors there. But again, it's like, if you're sketching something, especially that's a little bit complex, like people, and you don't get it right, you can kind of keep sketching and then go in with a wet brush and soften out those lines that you don't want to keep. And that's a really nice thing about using a water-soluble ink. And the fact that it's so much easier to clean out of your pens, and it's less fussy. Same thing here. When I was done with my sketching and my watercoloring, then I went in and I put in railings and I put in masts and wires and things like that I didn't want to blur out. But my first sketches I did with a pen, and I did let it blur out into my watercolor to give it a softer look. Same thing here. The hard lines were done after, and the softened out original sketches was done first, and it just gives you a really nice way to control how sharp and how fuzzy your lines are. That was done with a fountain pen, but a red fountain pen. And then as I add watercolor to it, I was able to let it fade in, which is another fun thing you can do. You could also use a fine liner, just like any old water-based fine liner. You know how you get the dual-ended pens sometimes, and one end is a brush pen and one end is a fine line? Sketch with a fine line of those brushes. So what I mean about using what you have, because that's the best supply that you can use, you probably have something very similar related to the products that I'm showing you, just in a different format. And maybe you never thought to use the fine ends of your pens for art, because maybe you bought them because you were a scrapbooker and you wanted to do your journaling with the fine ends and use the brush ends to color up rubber stamps for stamping or to color in large areas. There's many uses for these different products. And same thing here. This was done with the Sepia pen, and then I added watercolor to it, and then I went back in with the Sepia pen when it was dry. And you can even go into damp paper with your inks and then get a really strong line that's a little fuzzy on the edges, just depending on what you like. Those were done with fine liners. Oh, that was the one I was telling you about. There's a free real-time class on the Michaels website, on the Michaels YouTube channel right now, if you want to follow along with that. But we used fine liners, then we did watercolor over it. But if you didn't have a waterproof fine liner, then you could just do the watercolor and then do the fine lining last. You just reverse it. So you can definitely make your work for you. Your supplies work for you. That was just with a regular fine liner. This was with a pink. I used a pink fine liner. So sometimes you buy a pack of fine liners and they're waterproof and they have tons of colors. And maybe you're in a rut and you're like, oh, I can't think of anything to paint. Everything is just coming out like garbage. We all have those moments where it's like, did I just forget how to draw and paint? What happened? What is life? I have those moments. You might have those moments. When that happens, I draw with a different color, and for whatever reason that tends to help. So I drew this out in pink and it worked great. And then I went in and I added watercolor to it, and my pink lines are still there. You can see my mistake pink lines there in the background, but I think it kind of adds to the charm, honestly. And it's just a great way to kind of break out of a rut. And I think that's probably it for the water soluble pen examples. So I apologize if this is kind of just kind of discordant, but yeah, I guess I just felt like playing with supplies. Now I'm going to look and see if there's any questions. So if you do have questions, use the word question in all caps, and then come back and then type your regular question. I'm just going to put something interesting in front of the camera while I go and answer them. Okay. There, that's kind of interesting. There we go. You can look at that. All right. Virginia Bush asks, what sketchbook are you showing now? Love the deckled edges. This is funny. This is a handmade sketchbook. So when I went to France, I was teaching a sketchbook making lesson. And so every couple months I would just practice and make a new sketchbook. And I had all these like quarter sheets from random brands just all around the place. And so I thought, I'm just going to take those papers and I'm going to fold them and I'm just going to stitch them together in a sketchbook. So this is just a handmade one with just a random variety of papers in it. But I've had so many requests to show how I do these sketchbooks that I am going to make one. I am going to do a video on that, hopefully in the next week or two. This is another one that I did. This is the one that I did. I actually did it at home, but I was getting ready for France because I cut these covers for everyone. So, if you tear all your paper down carefully, you can get much, much neater. Oh, this here, speaking of weird pens, look at your weird pens that you have, because I found a pen. I don't know where it came from. And I sketched with it and added water and found out this black pen actually diluted out into purple ink. And it was so much fun to use with my watercolors. So, and I did this one too. This will be up on my YouTube channel Wednesday as a real-time tutorial, free for everybody. It was just a lot of fun. And I would never have known if I wasn't looking for a fountain pen that was water soluble, and I picked that one up by accident. So you have treasures. You have multitudes of treasures in your junk drawer. Your junk drawer. Sounds like I said drunk drawer. I don't know what's in that drawer, but probably something you could use for art. But yeah, I see what you have, really. Okay. Jam asks, could you hold up the Dr. Page Martin's ink close to the camera? Yes, I can. And I did link to that on Amazon and Blick. The prices are pretty similar. You can get them individual bottles or in sets. So it just depends on what you want. They're obviously going to be cheaper per bottle in a set. But if you only need one color, just buy the one color, because you're not saving any money if you don't use the rest of the stuff. Melissa says, what was the pen? I have several pens. They're all linked down below, but this one is a Jane Davenport fountain pen. I like it a lot, but I also really like the Gin House Shark. I'd say they're similar quality, except the Gin House plastic and Jane's is metal. But as far as ink flow and nibs, they're about the same. I'm scrolling backwards, so don't worry. I'm not skipping over your questions. Silly Susie 631 says, I'm looking for a good sepia pen. What do you recommend? Well, we're looking at a lot of them today, both refillable ones that you can refill with ink like this, Or these biennial fine liners that I purchased, I'm really enjoying them. And if you want something easy and you don't want to fill a pen or you don't have anything and you just want to be easy, I would say go with this. And then also the Pentel pocket brush pen, which is real hairs, and that's a lot of fun. If you have good I would caveat this because if you have tremors, if you have a loss of sensitivity in your hands and fingers, it's going to be difficult to control your nib weight with a pen like this, and you would be much better off going with the biennial. And then I think Micron does sell open stock sepia pens like in different weights. So if you find you love one color, one weight, you could buy an open stock version by Micron. It'll be more expensive. They'll be about $4 a piece, but then you could just buy exactly what you want once you figure out what it is you like. But if you have good sensitivity in your hands, you have good brush control, and you have good line control, the Pentel Pocket Brush Pen will really be the best bet, I think. And or this refillable one by New Bestie, if you don't mind going out and buying a bottle of ink and refilling it yourself. That's also really good, and it will help you develop your brush and hand control. Jake Parker from Inktober, I did a live stream with him. I took a class from him, and he recommended this. He said that really helped his inking. But again, if you've got to have that sensitivity in your fingers, and we're not, we all have our own strengths and weaknesses. And if that's something that you have as a weakness, then I would go with a fixed fine liner for that. I'm still scrolling back. Okay. Apologize for the dead air. If you're watching the replay and you want to skip ahead when I'm taking questions, just, please feel free. Okay. I think I've caught up with the questions. I'll just see if there's any new ones. Zach Penn says, I notice you sometimes only use both sides of the paper. Is there a reason? Zach, I used to just use one side of my paper, especially if it was a thinner sketchbook. But when I make my own sketchbooks, I generally will use both sides because the paper is 140-pound cotton. It's good quality, and I have no problem using both sides. Sometimes I'll do something good on one side and something kind of crappy on the back side in case I want to cut the sketchbook up and frame stuff. But I don't know. I'm not so precious with my sketchbooks anymore. I tend to use both sides. But if it's a thin, cheap sketchbook, I sometimes will just use one side because the paper just doesn't want to take that much wet media on both sides. I guess, I don't know. With this paper here, I was trying to determine whether this is a single-sided or a double-sided paper, because the first thing I did was on this side, and I think because the paper in this sketchbook comes separately in a bag, so you could just put in however many sheets you wanted to in the sketchbook. And I was working on this side, and this side was really smooth. And then I was kind of wondering, I think I put the paper in maybe backwards, and I was painting on the wrong side. And so I was thinking that the wrong side might be better for pen work because it's smoother, and the right side, the texture side, would be better for actual painting. So that's kind of why I've been working on one side, because I tend to prefer the textured side. But there's really no reason. This paper could withstand using both sides, in my opinion. But yeah, not really a reason. It's up to you. If you think you might want to take apart your sketchbook and frame things, and you don't want to have one painting not be visible, then you could do that. But yeah, that's the only reason. Is there a refillable black ink that color changes like the lovely shells and sheep? I'm sure there is, Norma. And if anybody I don't have a lot of experience with ink, and I'm just going to come right out there. I'm not a fountain pen snob. I'm not a fountain pen aficionado. I use cheap fountain pens because I really don't trust myself with an expensive fountain pen, because I don't think my fountain pen hygiene is good enough to warrant anything expensive. So I'm using like the Platinum Preppies. I'm using the cheapo. This is a Platinum Preppy. These also, you can get cartridges for those. I'm using the cheap ones because I don't trust myself. But I think there is. And if anybody is versed in fountain pen ink watching today, if you have recommendations you want to leave in the chat, please do. Or even better yet, leave as a comment under this video, because then people will see it in the future. Sometimes the chats go away. I don't know why. Long story short, I'm sure there is. I just don't know my fountain pen inks well enough. I'm using what I have in my fountain pens, and I have this Dr. Peach Martin's liquid watercolor that I really love in my pens, and it's so easy to clean out of or unstick if it gets stuck in the nib. Yes, Sketches and Scrubs is asking, what's the black pen that turned into purple ink? It's called a Pentel Sparkle Pop, and the color you want is the black/red. So it's got red glitter in it. Um, but it's called the black/red. I think if you go on Blick, that's how it's going to be listed. Amazon has it. I'm sure stationery shops, because I think you're in the UK, right? I'm sure you can find stationery shops that have it. I'm not sure if Jackson's does or not, but Pentel's a pretty big brand, so you should be able to find that. I know. I linked to it in tomorrow's video because that's the pen I used. Um, all right, I think I'm caught up. Oh, I just purchased Panda Puffs 710. Night Till Day R asks, I just purchased sheets of matte board like you used in the Karen Dodge flower video. I was wondering if you think I could use soft pastels on that substrate. You know what? Matte board is great for a lot of things. I use watercolor crayons on it. I use soft pastels on it, but I would gesso it with Liquitex clear gesso, and it's got to be the Liquitex clear because it's got a grit to it, and that will make it perfect for soft pastels. I also use matte board for the covers of my sketchbooks that I make by hand. So great surface to have on hand. Highly recommend. You won't waste any of it. You'll find stuff. You'll find stuff to use. All right. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is kind of test out the paper here, and I want to test a wrong side, a right side, and also want to test it compared to the just some cotton watercolor paper because I have a page that's got a smudge on it, so I might as well test it here. And I want to test it against the B watercolor paper because I had a feeling that for a while I was saying maybe they bought the old stock of B paper and that's what they're using. I'm always curious about what comes from what and how it behaves. So this would be the wrong side of the paper. I'm going to use a right side as well. So I'm just going to pop this out and we're going to do a controlled wash on each of these papers. This may be the most boring YouTube footage on the platform, but that's what fast forward is for when you're watching the replay, I guess. I think I have too many sheets of paper in this, to be honest. So I'm going to close this. I'm going to take some sheets out and close that. And then we'll have we can work on a right side, a wrong side, and the V. I'm going to move stuff. I'd like to work actually on the back of something. So I'll work on the back of my coffee pot sketch for the wrong side. And I'll use this one, back of this one for the right side. So first thing about the sketchbook, I'll say it's really beautiful. It's like a faux leather. I don't like working in the sketchbook so much because it's so floppy, and I tend to have this, like if I'm painting plein air or working a sketchbook, I'm usually having this on my lap, and it's a little too floppy. I prefer a hardbound. But the fact that you could take the pages out is kind of nice. Okay, so why do I have... All right. Right side, wrong side, be creative, and cotton paper. And so when you do a controlled wash, this is a great technique if you're new to watercolor and you've never done a controlled wash before. I'm going to show you how. You'll want to make a big puddle of ink. And you'll want to use a round brush that's fairly juicy, that will hold a fair amount. You can use a Taklon brush. I'm going to use one of my Taklon brushes, and I'm going to make a big puddle of paint. And we use the same color on each of these washes just to keep it consistent. So I'll move my palette over just so you can see. You want to make sure that you mix enough paint to get you through a full wash. So I'm going to take a color I don't use very much. This one has barely any divot in it, so it's like an indigo. Might even be a Payne's gray, to be honest. I'm going to make sure I have a nice big puddle of that. And since I'm going to do 4 washes, I might as well make sure I have a really, really big puddle because I know I'm not going to waste it. Add some more water. If you have to stop and remix your paint in the middle of a wash, then you have a chance of getting back runs. And if you're doing a custom color, let's say I want to make a custom color, maybe I want to add some purple to that. I want to make a custom color. then what's the chances that while I'm in the middle of a wash and I've run out of paint and I'm panicked that I'm going to mix the same color again? There's a very little chance that that's going to happen. So you definitely want to mix up more than you need. And it may feel wasteful, but if you have to repaint something, get a whole new piece of paper, that's going to be way more wasteful. So that would what we would call penny wise and pound foolish. And I'm guilty of it a lot, but I want to save you the heartache. All right, we've got a lot of watery paint there, and you want it the consistency of like of tea or like a skim milk, juice maybe, just like a really watery washy consistency. All right, I'm going to draw boxes, and I'm going to use some of the inserts from my sketchbook floozy templates for this. They are going to restock the sketchbook floozy templates, luckily. I know they, especially the larger sizes, sold out quickly. So if you didn't have a chance to get the sketchbook floozy templates, they're going to come out. We are actually coming out with some new designs and a universal template. So out of a thick material that you'll be able to do all sorts of layouts, and you won't be confined to one type of layout. But if you do like the prefab layouts, those will be available. So what I'm going to do, you want to do a controlled wash. The best time to do a controlled wash is when you want an absolutely flat wash and you don't have a very complex space that you need to put it in. So if you have to get around a lot of really weird shapes, that's going to probably not be the best place for a controlled wash. But if you've got a large field of background, something where you don't have a lot you have to get around, that's the perfect situation. And also I find when I'm doing, if I do a controlled wash, I can very easily tell if a paper truly is 100% cotton or not. I have no reason to doubt that it is, but I have received paper before stating it's 100% cotton and it is like 20% cotton at most. And when I confronted a vendor about that was the Art Beak block. They said their supplier that they ordered it from said it was 100% cotton. So with so many white label products on the market these days, it's really hard to trust, because sometimes they don't even know what's in their products. I'm going to get something to put to hold underneath my paper because I do need to have it at an angle. So I've got this little piece of cardboard here. It's actually matte board. Another thing matte board's good for. This was the inside of a matte board, a picture frame mat that I had made. So I'm just going to put that right there and I'm going to clip it on there. And this is the right side of the New Light Wish sketchbook paper. So I'm going to load up my brush. Any watercolor is fine for this. Just make sure you have plenty of it. So when you do a controlled wash, you want to hold your paper at an angle. And what you're going to do is you're going to put down a bead of color here. And you're going to put as much paint as that bead will hold, because that's going to eliminate the need for you to have to keep reloading too often. And so you'll go back and forth, holding this at an angle so the bead of color always stays at the bottom. Oh, that's a pretty color. My goodness, I need to use that more often. See, and that's a great thing about practicing those colors you don't necessarily reach for or like very much, because you may be like, oh, it's a pretty color. I think I like that. And we still have a bead, so I don't need to reload, but we're starting to the bead is starting to get used up. So when I'm at about this point, I'm going to put it at an angle. I'm going to drip a little bit more into that bead, and I'm going to keep on going. You've got to be quick, though, because if you're not quick, you are going to get a back run. And this is always done on dry paper, as opposed to a wet and wet wash. That is another great wash that you can do. But a wet and wet wash is done on wet paper, obviously. So when you get to the bottom, you might time it just right and not have any extra paint, but we're going to have a little bit of extra paint here, and I'm going to show you how to deal with that. You probably know already, but in case you don't, you need a paper towel. You're just going to dry your brush off on the paper towel, and very quickly, before it has a chance to back run, you're going to drink up that extra paint with your brush. Now you can have several puddles of color, and you can switch colors as you go and make a gradient. So that is a nice flat controlled wash, and that is on the right side of the light wish paper. We're going to do another one with the wrong side of the light wish paper. I'm going to do the same thing. If you have granulating colors, you might want to give them a little stir. Now, if you have granulating colors, you really want them to granulate, you're better off with a wet and wet wash because they need that water to granulate. So I'm loading up this. Now, the back side of the paper, this, or quote unquote wrong side, the smooth side, that does not want to take as much because it doesn't have as much texture, I think. Oops, we're losing that bead. We better quickly fill that back up before we get a back run. So this is also not the technique you want to do when you've got your paper like taped to your table. If you ever do that, tape it if you have it taped to something fixed, because you do need to be able to lift it up. And you'll get better with your edges. And if I'm concentrating more, I'm a little bit better with my edges. Okay, this is going to be more than enough to finish it up. But you're always working on that wet edge, so you always keep from getting those hard edge streaks. And the faster you can go, the smoother it's going to be. So I'm going to wipe off my brush. Just bring it down that last little stroke across. And there we go. You could also do a gradient wash by just adding water each time you go to put down another stroke. Now we're going to do the bee paper. Let me grab our little cardboard here. Great budget paper. You can even get this in, or at least you used to be able to get this in 22 by 30 inch sheets, which was really nice for painting, because then you could do big paintings and not worry about it, or you could cut it up and make sketchbooks, or just have a variety of sizes there. Yeah, I wonder if I can get enough paint in this first bead that I can do the whole thing. Let's see. I think I might be able to. My apologies if you can hear the water pump going. You can experiment with pressing your brush down and getting, let's see, am I going to be able to make it with that? I think I need a little bit more paint in my bead, but that should do it. You can experiment with how much you press your brush down, as like how wide of a stroke you want to do. All this stuff is great for building brush control. And we all have colors that we're not crazy about. We even have paint we're not crazy about, and paper we're not crazy about. If this is going to be harder on a cellulose paper, but if you were never going to use it, practice on it. If you can make a controlled wash look good on cellulose paper, you're going to have no problem on watercolor paper. And there we go. Now, looking at these three so far, oh, we've got one more to do. I want to do one in my cotton sketchbook that has, I think that sheet there is Saunders Waterford, which is a fairly heavily sized cotton paper. I'm liking this color that I'm using here. All right, we're going to do another bead of paper here. So I would expect this one to probably look the nicest. And see, with a hardbound bound sketchbook, I find it a little bit easier to use than a soft bound one, just because you have that rigidity. But if you love the traveler's notebooks and that aesthetic, I mean, that Light Wish sketchbook is really cute, and it has nice paper in it. I mean, it's not top of the line cotton paper, but it's not bad. Now, if you are doing a controlled wash on a painting, and it doesn't go well, and you're frustrated because now you're thinking, oh, I've just wasted this paper. Brush over it with water, agitate it a little bit, and then just add the color back into turn it into a wet and wet wash. So don't feel like, if you're doing this technique on a painting and it's not coming out good, you've just ruined it. There. Now, to me, this one came out the best, but it is also the highest quality paper. And I've just had three others that I did earlier, so it could just be the practice factor. But I also think the look of it is nice just because of the texture of it. But this probably has a lot to do with the paper. So that is my 140-pound Saunders Waterford higher end watercolor paper. This is the Be Creative, or not Be Creative, the stuff that we've been buying for years on Amazon, the 100% Cotton Bee watercolor paper professional series that I bought several years ago from Consumer Crafts when before they went out of business. So I don't know how much it's changed, but just to give you I just want to have that caveat. Then we have this one, which is the back side of the Light Wish paper, which did okay. It's really flat and uniform. Minimal buckling. No, I did tape it down. I got a little bit of a bend to the paper, but not bad. And this is the right side or what I'm considering the right side of the paper from Light Wish, which I think is a better finish, and I think it takes the water a little bit better. But it seems like it's sized pretty well on both sides. There's nothing on there that's making me feel like it's got a problem to it. So yeah, that's good. That's good, I think. All right. I'm going to see if there's any questions, and then we can, I don't know, mess around with the pens a little bit, I guess. Thank you, Virginia. Because I have a steady hand. You do kind of have to have a bit of a steady hand for that. So again, if you have tremors, that might not be the best technique. Or if you just drank a couple cups of coffee, not the best time to do that technique. But definitely worth giving it a try, seeing if it's for you. Every technique isn't for everyone. We all have different things that work better. Sketches and Scrub says, "Sorry, I meant which pen you use for the seashell and the door." Yes. Yes, that's the one. The Pentel Sparkle Pop in the color black. It actually goes purple when you add water to it. I don't know why. I don't have it with me. It's upstairs. It's upstairs, so otherwise I would grab it and show it to you. I think if you go on my Instagram, you can actually probably see the little logo on it if that helps you. Um, let's see. Wait, we got people all over the country, all over the world in today's stream. That's so awesome. Gee, there might not be any other questions. Please, if you do have a question, use the word question, type the word question in all caps so it'll show up to me. So I'll be able to spot it as I'm quickly scrolling through. And if I missed it, then feel free to add it in again. All right, I think, unless any just got posted. Grisai Art asks, does the round brush work better than the color block? For the color block than a flat? Yes, for this technique, you want a round brush. You could definitely paint in an area with a flat. Let's do it. If you got something like this, absolutely, you're gonna be able to do a big flat wash, no problem whatsoever, because your brush is almost as big as the block that you're painting, and it's easy to keep all the area wet. But oftentimes you may have a fairly large area, but you have you have to get in and around some corners and some shapes, and see I'm getting a big puddle there. And if I overlap and the paint starts to dry, it's much quicker. But it just wouldn't be a controlled wash. It would just kind of be more just like a fill-in. But it'll work. It'll work, especially if it's not too complex of a shape. But it's not a controlled wash. It's just kind of just a fill-in, wet on dry, filling in type situation. But it's fun to try things, isn't it? Then that's what you should do. When you have a question like that, grab your stuff and give it a try and see which technique works better for you in which situation. Nicole Faulkner asks, are you planning to make a video on the sketchbook? Yes, I am. I've been harangued enough by you people. You guys have pressured me enough. I'm going to do a sketchbook video. I'm just kidding. I don't mind at all. Okay. All right, let's mess around with the sepia pens a little bit. Oh, you know what? Let's just do our World Watercolor Month. Why don't we do that? I downloaded a picture from Unsplash of somebody on water skis. Why not? I think that would be great. I gotta get my screen open. Here we go. And I'm gonna do it in the sketchbook I've done most of my World Watercolor Month in. All the wet squares all over the place. Plus, there's no wet squares in that book, so we're good. I'll do a quick pencil sketch, and then we'll just go on from there. All right, let's work here. Let's put an eraser under my phone so it won't glare and you'll be able to see it as well. And I'm just going to get a basic pencil sketch. I want the emphasis to be on the dude on the little board there. So let's try to get a sketch that shape that kind of unifies his torso. So we got that angle. Got a torso oval here. Then we've got this kind of block that would be the rectangular shape that is kind of hips to knees make. So you get kind of a knee directly under the hip there. We've got a knee kind of under the midsection over here. So we've got that block. Then we've got this next block that would be a knee to ankle. Let's get that angle. And then feet, let's see, heel to heel. That doesn't feel long enough. I gotta get the negative space in here. Oops, I have to set my phone to be 30 minutes. There we go. Get the negative space in there. That will be helpful. And I don't feel like that shape is quite right. That's going to come back at more of an angle. There we go. So his back heel is here. Is that long enough? I don't think it's long enough. This makes it come down a little bit further too. I got the board. Wave. Start to put some of the details. Life vest. Okay, we've got the shoulder here and arm. And we've got a lot of foreshortening here. We've got the forearm. Then we've got the point of action here. He's holding on to the pull thing. I'm going to grab a ruler just to get a real nice tight tension line. What's that angle? That angle's like that. Probably more angled, but I don't think it matters too much. Vest head. That shoulder's dropped a little bit, looking at the negative space here around the head. And then you've got this, I'm going to look at the negative space in the arm. And let's see the relationship of everything. So the knee, if I brought that knee out, that would be mid forearm. So the elbow is more up here in line with, let's say, it'd almost be horizontal with the edge of his shorts. I think the shorts are a little too low, but okay, so we get a little bit of a curve. That's the elbow, shoulder, arm, and then forearm to the wrist. And let's see, I'm gonna line it up with the knee. Knee to wrist. Okay, need a hand. I feel like maybe the knee is too low because something like that doesn't seem to be. Actually, I think that might be all right. He's keeping his balance. Like this also has more of a curve to it. I'll use this so I don't have crumbs. A little bit more of a curve to the elbow. And a curve out to the wrist. His shoulder is more up here, and then we've got the bicep and the forearm muscle. Then down to the okay. I think we're feeling the right amount of, I don't know, everything feels fairly balanced. Talking and drawing is difficult. All right. So I just need to make sure I've got enough information here before I start to ink, because I need to make sure I have things fairly accurate. Probably not going to be perfect, but gosh, I feel like I have that. Leg wrong. It's like that leg is supposed to be further back on the board, I think. Maybe I need to bend that more of an angle, even though it's not bent that much of an angle. Let's see, he's got a shirt. And then he's got the life vest. And then we've got this big wake of water. If I get stuck, then I just move to another, I'll move to another part of the, that does not seem right. Well, Let's just get some landscaping back there. It's a pretty place to be water skiing. Looks like she's in Hawaii or something. I guess not water skiing. What would that be? Not waterboarding. Like that's torture. I don't know what you call that. It's not surfing. I don't know. Ski surfing. All right, let's try some pen. Let's try our biannual pens. They are not refillable, but they do come in a reusable pouch, and hopefully they last us a long time because I've had other biannual pens that have lasted quite well. The other biannual pens I have are not the exacts. They don't look like they're the same body or anything. So, I mean, who knows how much that will correlate, but we'll give them a try. I'll see if we have any other questions really quickly before I start inking. Oh, wow, we got 130 people hanging out. That's awesome. Wakeboarding. Thank you, Kristen. Okay. Panda Puffs asks, is it okay? A question. Okay, one more because I always wonder about it. She says, it may be too personal of a question, but how do you decide what palette you'll use for what painting? Oh, that's not personal at all. Honestly, I'll just if I haven't used something for a while, I'll grab it. I'm pretty comfortable with this Paul Rubens palette because I've used it so much. It usually lives upstairs on like in the desk next to my balcony, so I grab that when I go outside to paint on the porch. And I didn't want to have to think too much about it. Donna Kelly says, is Lindsay releasing brushes? I have a brush set through Craft Ammo and then it sold out. And we had an issue with, like after I've been using them for about 6 months, the ferrule was getting loose. And so I didn't want to re-release it until we figured out what was going on. So we ended up going with a different manufacturer to make sure that the handles and the ferrules were not going. I mean, it was an easy fix, but still, I didn't want that to happen at all. So, yeah, they'll be out soon at Craft Ammo. Um, so you can find it there if you are interested. Uh, Lean asks, will an entire block have sizing issues if some pages show sizing issues? I inherited several watercolor papers when my uncle died and noticed sizing being off in my handmade booklets. Um, Chances are, if one page has sizing issues, the rest of them will, because it's probably happened to all the paper and they've, if it's a block, it's all been in the same environment. Um, I mean, it doesn't hurt to keep trying and seeing if you have any good ones, like test on the edge or something like that of the paper. But oftentimes, yeah, it's usually because all the paper's been stored somewhere and the sizing has all just kind of given up the ghost at some point. Virginia asks, will the sketchbook making class be soon? I'm hoping so. I was going to try to film it on Friday, but I didn't get it done. But since it's going to be, I'm going to be filming it in the room of Horde, and it's going to be, I'm going to film it at my big table, and I will be on camera for part of it. It's got to be a time where my hair and makeup is sufficient. Right now, I look like a hobo, so yeah. I get to batch that stuff. I get to batch things when I have to be presentable on camera, and it's not just my hands. The shape template, that is from my sketchbook floozy stencils through Craft Stash. They're sold out, but they are going to be restocking them this fall. And I do have a universal template coming out and some other shapes coming out soon. So I will let you know about that when that launches. I think it'll be in September. Okay. Silly Susie asks, do you sew or glue your pages? I sew them by hand when I'm making a book. I tried gluing and I didn't have good results. I tried the perfect binding and it was not perfect for me. All right, so this is not going to be like perfection here. I'm going to use I usually on handmade paper, or not a handmade paper, but a typical watercolor paper, I'll use like a 5 to 8, but because this isn't a very rough page, I'm just going to go ahead and use a 3. The 0.3 is the size I use the most. I think it's a really good size to use, but if you use a lot of watercolor paper, it can be a little too it can be a little bit too fine and it can wear down. So I'm just going to be real careful as I do this. Just try to only ink the good lines. And if I see like kind of areas where I can get some flair or verve to the lines, then I will do that. Like if I like around the elbow, you get a little curve. Let's see. I'm gonna zoom right in there. And this photo is I just honestly grabbed it a few minutes before I started streaming because I thought, well, that would be a good application would be to actually put the thing to the test, put these things to the test. But I'm somebody that can tend to like not want to use something if I think I'm going to run out of it. So refillable options usually are a good bet for me, but I do also really enjoy using pre-filled fine liners. Uh, so I went with these. Oh, my chair's squeaking. All right, so the hand, I'm seeing actually, I'm going to be moving up that bottom line. So this is kind of tricky when I have to kind of do this on the fly, but I've got this stretched out. So I already see that I've drawn this differently than I see it. I've spread that out a little bit too much. So I want to try to move up this bottom part a bit. Let's add some shading. And because the hand is going to actually be a lot bigger than we think it is because of the foreshortening, I still am going to be able to see some top of it, I think, and I still feel like these fingers are way too big. But you know what? The great thing about World Watercolor Month is that we have a new chance to start over every single day, right? All right. So we can see the life jacket here kind of coming up. Oh, and like this should be much larger. And get a knot there. Looks like he's got a little bit of a humpback with the way the life vest is going, but we've got his neck. Try to get the face a little bit more accurate. You can just see a little bit of his ear because his hair is a little bit long. I could zoom in a little bit. That might be helpful. Where's my remote? Fancy now. I got a new webcam that lets me zoom in into things. I feel like it's a little bit crooked. There we go. Okay. I'm just going to zoom right in on the face. Oh, this is not going to be flattering, guy. I'm so sorry. Sorry, so sorry, wakeboard dude. Let's get the facial hair in there. That might help a little bit. He's looking a little rough. Oh, yeah, this is rough. But gosh, if this dude is what ever comes across this video, I'm gonna feel so bad. Man, Oh, well, we're just gonna keep on moving. Oh, he's got tattoos on there. Didn't notice that before. He's got all kinds of tattoos. Okay. Oh, actually, he's a little trimmer than I have him portrayed here. I try to do a smooth line whenever I can. A hint too small. Anybody drawing along? Or are you like, no, Lindsay's lost her mind. I'm not drawing that. It's going to be fine. I should have drawn this in the waterproof, not the waterproof one, the other one, because then I could have just made my lines mysteriously fade away. Those wrong lines. Well, you're either going to learn what to do or what not to do, right? T-shirt. It looks fun. I don't think I have the upper body strength to water ski these days. Maybe soon. I've been lifting weights. We can hope. Uh, this leg is wrong. I know it is. I'm going to make a decision, though. We have to end this leg somewhere. And you know what? Worst comes to worst, we get that white gouache, we start splattering. We get a real big wave there covering up that leg, and no one will ever know. Because really, honestly, that's a real big part of being an artist is not only learning how to draw as accurately as you can, but learning how to fake it and hide your mistakes. Actually, I think that's going to be fine. I don't like to zoom in until I've got a good basic sketch down because you don't want to be fussing in on little details if you're not sure if you've got the actual the full the full body in there correctly. You know what? Maybe I have the angle. Oh, my stomach was growling. Maybe I have the angle of the board a little off. That's certainly a possibility. A very, very much so a possibility. So I'm just gonna. And look, the foot's no longer a problem. We just put a wave there. All right. Now we're going to keep on making our little. Why did I put them so close together? I don't think they're that close together. Oh well. What a strange angle. Well, Surfer Dude, please do not be offended by your caricature here. All right. I think we're doing all right. All right, so I think I'll also do I want to bother inking this? Sometimes I don't ink the background because it's like I only ink the area I want to stand out. Like so just like what's around the subject. I think that's probably a good idea. Um, I don't really want to zoom in on his bathing suit here, but I feel like I need a little bit of little fabric. Okay. All right, I'm gonna hit this real quick with a heat tool, and I'm gonna erase my pencil lines where I've inked so that I get a good idea of what other details I'm gonna need. If you have questions, pop them in the chat. If you're watching the replay and you're not here for the questions, skip ahead a few minutes. Oh, I love it. You guys are answering each other's questions. That's so great. Virginia Beach asks, will you release the sketchbooks, the supplies you'll need for the sketchbook in advance? The sketchbook video will be recorded. You basically need 2 sheets of watercolor paper, like 22 by 30-inch sheets. Use some waxed thread. I use waxed cotton thread, but waxed linen thread is fine too. Embroidery needles and a couple book covers. I use mat board cut down to size. But I'll have a list in the video description, and it's a video, so you'll be able to, see it and look and see what you need and then get the supplies for it. So, I mean, it's pretty basic supplies. I probably shouldn't rub this on there. I should use this eraser. Technically, a kneaded eraser is better for like pressing or rolling on the paper, but sometimes I use it so I don't have crumbs. All right, I'm going to leave the pencil marks in the back, just to have my little landscape there. I'm going to use a soft brush to brush this crumbs into the trash. And yeah, I'm totally lying. I just brushed it onto my floor, but I like to be a good example sometimes, so I say into the trash. All right. Did we get it all? It's not too bad. I think we're fine. All right. Now, if I want to, I could go in and boy, that leg looks a little strange, but I think it'll be fine. I could go in with some other pens, some thicker pens. I'll do that afterwards, though. I think I want to get the paint down. And I'm going to clip this in a couple spots because I get pretty wet in there. I had plenty of that color, didn't I? Maybe I'll work that into the picture somehow. All right, I want a paper towel handy because I'm going to lift off some clouds as we go. I'm going to just do a quick wash in the sky. I think I can go right over our rope there because that's going to be a fairly dark color. Let's do a little cerulean blue. Actually, I'm going to turn this palette around. So I have a clean mixing area. A little bit of ultramarine in there, I think, towards the top. And I'm going to bring that actually right down into those mountains. A little more ultramarine towards the top, I think. It's all too dull. I think I might use the Pentel Pocket Brush pen to kind of refine after. I'm not doing much to the background. I don't want that to be the focus. Now I'm going to grab, let's take a little bit of that weird purple color that we were using. Oh, that's too watery. You know what? No, we're not going to do that. We're going to, I'm going to have to take my palette and dump that out. I think it's so watery. We're going to take some burnt umber. We're going to take some ultramarine blue. I don't want a lot of water in this. Make this kind of like blue, grayish. mountainy area. I don't want to paint over his face. Now I'm going to grab some, I think I'll switch brushes and grab some, yeah, I'll use some of this soda light. That's a pretty color. It has a nice granulation too, which might be lovely. That's Daniel Smith. So I have some Daniel Smith Permatech in the center row because I think it goes really well with the with our Paul Rubens original. I like their original set of 24 and I like their set of 48. They had a new floral set, which yeah, it's the same quality, I guess, of the original 24 and 48 set, but for whatever reason, I didn't like it as well. I need to make sure this paint's a little bit thicker. I add some cerulean to it as well. I want it kind of more of a pasty consistency so it doesn't go crazy. Mixing into what's above it. I really didn't have much of a plan when I turned on the camera today, so I hope you're enjoying it, and it's hope you're maybe getting your supplies out, doing a little something. Okay, might drip a little water in there and force some blooms, get some texture. If you drop water over a damp area, it will push the pigment around and give you some interesting, like cauliflowers and effects. And sometimes it's a mistake, and sometimes it's on purpose, and you can do it however you like. All right, I'm gonna take some cerulean because I want to keep using the colors that I've been using. I'm gonna take a little bit of that green in there, make kind of a nice. It's not going to be quite as Caribbean tealy as, like, say, a cobalt teal, but I've already used this color and I want to keep. I mean, I might bring in some cobalt teal on the front, but I don't know. I might not. Now we've got some lovely waves happening, so I want to kind of paint around them. Try to avoid the need for a bunch of gouache if I can. Soak up any puddles. Cerulean blue is a granulating blue. It will give you a beautiful texture. A lot of blues granulate, though. Ultramarine, cobalt teal, manganese blue. That's hard to come by, but that should have a little granulation in it if you have that. I'd love to know your thoughts in the chat. Now I'm pretty much a like, hey, everybody do your own thing. Don't yuck anyone's yum. Uh, and I definitely I feel that way towards this because it's something that I would not spend my money on, but I see, but I don't think anything badly about anybody that chooses to. There's nothing wrong with that. Um, so I'm in some watercolor groups on Facebook, and there is people will post rare watercolor, like stuff that the paints have been discontinued because there's no longer a call for it in the auto manufacturing or plastics industry, so they they just don't make them anymore. So some of these tubes of paint that like might have gone for like $20 back in the day are going for like $300 for like a 15 ml tube of like uh, quinacridone gold, for instance. So let me know in the chat, would you pay hundreds of dollars for a tube of watercolor paint that you loved because because it was no longer available and it was rare and you had to pay it if you want to get it. Let me know if you would pay that. Or just out of curiosity, because I think some people are just kind of like the FOMO, like, oh, I missed out on it and I really want to get it. I'm really curious about that. Now, I wouldn't, because for one, I don't want to fall in love with a paint. Like, I never really used quinacridone. Was it quinacridone gold? Yeah, I never used it. So, like, when everyone's like, it's going out, it's going to be discontinued, I'm like, I don't use it. So, I didn't buy any. I didn't really worry about it. It wasn't really on my radar because it's not a color that I use that much. And I didn't think it was all that different from other colors that I had. Um, and I haven't regretted not buying it, but man, when you see the prices like that, it's like, holy cow. And I just wouldn't want to be dependent on a color that's so expensive and so hard to get. But maybe you've used that color and you're like, oh, you missed out, man. It's totally awesome. And it's totally worth, whatever you have to pay to get it. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. And please be polite. No calling people names if they choose to buy that, because obviously it's their money. We all should do with our money what brings us value, what gives us value. I like this mix. I love how that color's bleeding together, actually. I've always found that really interesting, what people are willing to pay for a discontinued color. And then I kind of worry, it's like worry. I always worry about scammers. It's like if something gets really popular like that, or if you're just gonna scam people. And then I wonder, would people know if they've been scammed? Because I think a lot of stuff that we get marketed, it's a lot of it's marketing, basically. I think with a lot of stuff, we think it's going to work because we think it's going to work so very well. It works well because we believe it will work well. It's like Dumbo and the magic feather. He believes it makes him fly. So he can't fly without the feather, even though it's not the feather that makes him fly, but he just believes it does. So interesting to think about. I'm going to water this down quite a bit. And I'm just going to kind of dab in. I'll probably splash in some color too. Oh my goodness, my stomach is growling. I need to think about something good to have for lunch. If you're doing this and you've watered your paint down, you're like, oh, it's just too unwieldy, just blot it off. You'll have plenty on your brush. You're just kind of like just kind of hinting at some color here and there. And soften and spread some colors too if you want to. I was gonna look and see if I could see what everyone was saying, but there's no way. I can't pay attention to two things at once. All right. Okay. I think I will spatter on a little bit of that color just to give it a little bit of movement. And I can use up what I have left, which is good. I think that works. No gouache needed. Okay, so let's mix up some skin tones. I'm just going to wipe off an area on my palette there. Right, so for skin tones, and I will just vary the different colors depending on what shade of skin I am trying to achieve. But I will often start with yellow ochre, well, burnt umber or burnt sienna, whichever brown I've been using. I think that was the one I was using. I think I was using that one. Doesn't really matter too much. Take a little bit of a pinky red, and I'll take a little bit of blue. I'm going to use ultramarine because I've already used that. And if you're going for a darker skin tone, using more ultramarine and more burnt sienna will give you a darker tone, and then you can kind of alter it how you need to. And kind of get the basic shadows in. I'm not zooming in because I just want to kind of get those basic shadow tones. Gosh, that might be a little too light even. Because the shadows are pretty dark. But I also want to make sure I have enough that I can mix over to the lighter stuff as needed. Oh my, that's way too dark. And it's just basically you're balancing your primaries out and getting just the color you need. All right, a little darker. And these shadows. You do want to be careful not to use too many granulating colors in your skin tones because then you end up with chunky texture on the skin that you might not want. With this lighter tone. That is 2. It's too dark. I'm going to get a little bit of pink. That looks a little too sunburned. Oops. That's all right. The Life Vest is dark, so it didn't really show where the arm ended. This is pretty much all in shadow over here until you get down to his hand. Hopefully, I don't bleed into the background too much. Probably should have dried that. That would have been a good time to stop and ask for questions, but we didn't have any, I don't think. And I can always do some highlights with colored pencil, which that's looking pretty likely, honestly. This is kind of cool, though. I'm getting my World Watercolor Month done. A little bit pink on the shoulders. A little more shadow here, facing away from the sun. A little more brown in that. It's a little too blue. Oh, I don't like that feathered edge. I'm making a real mess of the skin tone. He'll be fine though. You'll see. You'll see some magic. We'll pull it together. We're just in the hot mess stage. And all paintings must go through the hot mess stage, you know. Oh, you know what? I was thinking I should grab my old Lucas palette. That's such a great skin tone palette, but I gave it to my neighbor who was getting into watercolor. Actually, I do have a bigger Lucas palette I could use, but I've only tried one tube of their paint since Dale Rowney bought them, and I was not impressed. So I hasten to use or recommend Lucas paints at the moment. That's kind of a strange looking knee there you got. Not your fault, totally mine. Was I using ultramarine? This lake back here is way too light. All right, I think I need to not look at him for a minute and take some questions. So if you have any, please post them. I'm gonna just give him some hair and then give my eyes a little break. Yeah, give the eyes a break. Let's see, what do we have for questions? All right. Lindsay, you did an amazing job with that water backwash from the bow. Oh, thank you very much, Christine. Christine, one of my French friends, my France friends. So she's not French, but she was on the trip. She made a sketchbook too. Susan Sacco asks, my hands are raw from painting with acrylics. Do you have a magic hand cream recommendation? Yeah, actually, what I recommend is it's this creamy petroleum jelly that you can get at the Dollar Tree, and it comes in there's two different versions. There's a cocoa butter one and just a regular one, but that is like such a great barrier cream. I highly recommend that. If that's too greasy for you, there's also a product that you can get at Jerry's Autorama called Gloves in a Bottle, and that's a barrier cream for artists. It doesn't seem to stick to me. It is more expensive, but I would try the Dollar Tree one first, honestly, and see how you like that. A lot of nopes on the $300 watercolor tubes. I don't think I've seen a yes yet, but I'm sure probably somebody would say yes. Somebody bought some when they heard it was going to be discontinued. That was smart. Yeah, someone offered to send me a tube because it was getting discontinued, and they bought like five, um, and I declined because I'm like, you obviously love this, and I wouldn't don't think I would appreciate it, and and I'd probably be too afraid to use it, knowing that it was no longer available. And Annette says, question, what's happening with Quinn Gold? I love Quinn Gold. You can still get Quinn Gold. It's just a different mixture than that used to be PO 48 or PO 49 or something. And now they make it with a mix. And it's honestly that I wonder if I wasn't a user of that color, so I wouldn't, maybe there's some magic in there that I'm not seeing, but wouldn't be surprised if people could sell the new stuff and say it was the old stuff. I don't know if a lot of people have the sensitivity to tell between the colors. Um, but for me, I would not. Because I don't want to fall in love with something that I can't get. That would just be. I'd rather not know what I'm missing out on. All right. I'm gonna give this a quick dry. It seems like the skin tone is getting a little bit more even. I don't have the variety of color that I want yet, but I think I'm going to take a break on the skin, work on the clothes and the rope, and then come back to it. I like the little blossoms back there for some texture. I think that's kind of nice. Although bring that background forward a little bit more because you've got some texture there. So it's not as, doesn't have as much depth, but it is all right. Okay. Now we've got some clothing to paint. I'm actually kind of excited to go back in with some pen at the end. Let's make a dark color with ultramarine blue and burnt umber, the brown that we've been using the whole time. Oh, I think I might want to use a smaller brush because I don't have, this is it's a pretty small figure and a pretty small setting. It's a pretty small page. Ironically, I found that with these paints, the original Paul Rubens, that the browns were much stronger in the old set than the new set. So somebody said that I should probably soak them, which is probably a good idea because if they've been sitting around for a long time, they might just need to be woken up. But they were very weak in the floral set. And sometimes, though, I mean, it's a good idea to look at other people's reviews because that one got a really high review from other reviewers. So maybe I missed the mark. I mean, sometimes it's like that. Sometimes I'll review something and it's just, oh, I see an error right here. I shortened his waist. I shortened his waist. I should have I should have more vest. Actually, no, maybe the shirt should be down a little bit lower. Okay, maybe I didn't. Maybe I just moved I have more shirt than vest here. Yeah, I think I might have shortened him up a little bit there. And sometimes you don't even notice a problem or an error that you've made until it's much later. Yeah. You know what? I also did a figure earlier this month. I did for the thing study. I took a picture of my daughter reading on the couch, and I thought that looked really stiff. And sometimes I come up with a great idea after I've already painted it, and it's like, oh, what I should have done, because the way she was sitting, her legs could have been like a mermaid tail, and I could have had her like with a mermaid tail, and she could have been reading, but it could be like she was imagining, like reading some fanciful book. She was reading Fairy Tale by Stephen King. She could have been reading some fanciful book, and she would have been imagining herself as a mermaid, and that would have been a way better painting. But I thought of it too late. I was already done painting it. And that's just how it goes sometimes. You come up with great ideas late. That's why it's not a bad idea to take a break sometimes. All right, let's do the khaki shorts. Maybe I'll do the brown, some green, a little bit of blue. Make that khaki tone. The wet fabric appearance. So I'm going to leave some areas just lighter, like for highlights. Gosh. I don't know if I can make neon green with the colors that I've used so far. So that rope is going to be a challenge because I've got this green. I don't want to bring in a new color, even though neon isn't really part of the landscape. I really don't want to bring that in, but let's do the green and cerulean. I think that's going to be my brightest green option. I'm thinking about changing the color of those foam things. Well, you know what? I can do those with ink. I'll do those with ink later. That will be plenty dark enough. Excuse me. Let's take that color. Let's do, I think I want to do maybe use some of that on the board here. Maybe like a stripe or something. Because there's like black and blue and white stripes, but I thought a little green in there would look pretty. I was not intending to stream this long. Oh well. I'll do a little bit on the front. I'll probably add some pen, some of the brush pen. Let's do ultramarine. That will really pop, I think. I need to refill my ultramarine. I think I have a Paul Rubens tube of ultramarine too. I can refill it with the same brand. Every once in a while I get the idea that I'm going to use up all my palettes, and then I am just going to I am gonna work my way back to my studio palette, and I'm just gonna refill that one. That's the only one I'm gonna refill. I'll be down to one palette. I don't think that's ever gonna happen now. I've reality, Lindsay. I do end up refilling because sometimes I want a different palette. I want to paint with this one or that one. All right. That might be the least structural sound wakeboard we've ever seen. Now I'm thinking, oh, you know what? I wish I did that rope blue. I wish I did it blue now. Maybe I can, maybe I still can. Let's see. It's gonna be kind of, oh shoot, it's gonna be kind of muddy because maybe I'll put some little white stripes on it or something with a pen later. Wake up. Okay. Let's do the shirt. Might as well use this color right here. Kind of a wine red color. And gosh, I could have done the rope red too. With so many options, and I picked the worst one. Oh, good grief. Good grief. You know what I think I want to do? I think I want to dry this and then go in with some pen and be done with him. Be done with this. Okay. Do I want to have something on? You know what? I do like the idea of red. I do like the idea of red on those foam things. I do. I'll probably still add pen to it. But where the prompt is pull, and this is like the object being pulled. It might distract from some situations that I have happening in this painting. Which would not be a bad thing. Oh my gosh. All right. But you're waiting to see how I solve this thing with a pen. It'd be magical. All right. Any questions? Type question in all caps, and I will work from the most recent to work back as I'm drawing my paper. Nadine says the original Quinn Gold is glows more than the new Quinn Gold. Also, the old Quinn Gold is a browner in mass tone, at least in my opinion. Okay, good to know. Is it $200 worth of glow? $300 worth of glow? Also, I'm going to take buy one for $50. Yeah, you got to know your price, man. You got to know your price. someone consider selling their original Quinn Gold. I would say, yeah, definitely. If you do, definitely take a picture of, maybe even take a little video of you filling the pans with, if you're going to sell half pans, filling the pans from the tube, show the tube with the label and stuff, just so people know that you've got the real deal. So someone did buy one for $200 a year ago on eBay, but it's up to three. I've seen it for 300 recently, so I think you got a deal. All right. I don't think I have any more questions. All right. I think that's dry. All right. Oh, it's very hot. Okay. So because I used a brown pen to start with, I'm going to use the brown Pentel brush pen. And let's see, the cap does post. Sometimes when I post a cap, I'm always worried I'm going to get ink on the inside, but I find that these pocket brush pens with the cartridges don't go crazy with the ink, so I haven't had an issue with it running. Okay, so the light is coming in from this side, so any heavy lines I'm going to want to put on the opposite side. So I think I'm going to start with a strong shadow on the right side. Of course, it's such a dark color, it's kind of hard to see the shadow. But doing something like this with a brush pen, you can kind of shore up some of your edges. If you've got some stuff that's off, you can kind of hide it in shadows a little bit, which is really handy. I want to fix this poor gentleman's face. Probably not wise to do this with a pen like this, but I think maybe if I get some strong contrast in here, I can actually make it work. We'll see. I don't know if I'm making it any better or worse. The shadows need to be darker on the skin. And I think I want to put some designs on the board, maybe. Hmm. All right, I need to make some more shadow color. I'm just going to mix up what I have and see what I can come up with here on my palette with stuff I've already used. kind of closed his eyes, which is not ideal, but gotta get those strong shadows in there because without that, I don't have the structure that this picture needs to work. It's just too cartoony. I don't like to paint the skin tone over and over again, but I didn't have enough on there. Make sure I have enough. Fingers, I can get a little bit of a shadow. Okay, it's better than it was. I feel like over here I need a darker shadow still. It's a little bit better. Having some muscle tone there, I think, helps because uh, it gives a little bit more feeling of like tension. All right, not thrilled with the face, but now I think that's better. I think those shadows really help. I think his head's a little too small still, which is a bummer. Shorts need some more shadow, I think. Especially after you get past the top of this leg here. Oh, pinball lever is looking real good now. Not as visually interesting, but easier to paint. All right. I'll stop for questions again at the end, but I think I'm just going to dry this and keep on plugging through because we don't have too much to do and uh feeling about done with this. Oh, another thing I want to mention is white pens. There's a lot of good white pens out there. I tend to go for a thicker pen, like a Jelly Roll 10, but mostly I use a Uniball Signo Gel Impact size 10. But that one goes. Oh, here it is. Tends to. I usually buy them in packs of 3 on Amazon, and they often will go missing because I'll grab the one on my desk and wander off with it and whatnot. But I tend to use that one the most for reliability. You can also get uh, markers, like acrylic paint pen markers that you can refill. They may not even be sold as refillable, but a lot of times they will be refillable. So that's something you might want to consider. The Posca pen white is refillable, not the way they sell it, but like you can unscrew this part backwards and refill it. I do have issues with the nib clogging, so you could take that out and soak it in alcohol and unclog it. But I do have more problems with this than I do with the gel pen, so I tend to use a gel pen. I like this one for a thicker white pen, and again, you can unscrew it and refill it if you want to, but it comes in a pack of 6, so you do get a lot of use out of it. Before you'd even need to do anything like that. Put some highlights on things. Yeah, this one's about dry. And I think I will grab a light colored pencil for the face. The highlight on his face is super bright. It's almost white. But I'm going to try to carve out some of the shape that I messed up with, Kind of losing his mustache though. I even need lighter for the highlight, actually. I think I will go to a white. I don't want a white pen. That's just a little bit too much. And see if I can do something with the hair. Maybe this bronze color. This has been rather frustrating. I'm not gonna lie. He doesn't have the fierce facial expression. Like, it doesn't have that intensity that I wanted for this. And that's bumming me out. Looks a little too peaceful for, what he's doing there. I'm actually gonna try to dissolve some of that. So color pencil I put in there, I'm not happy with it. Oh, this face is gonna be the death of me. Totally bummed at it though. I'm bummed. This is a alcohol-based marker, clear, just dissolving the color pencil because I think I need to. I don't know. Maybe go into one of those fine tipped by. Just let me do it 3. It's a quick dry. Oh, and actually, also, I think I will go in. You know what? I'm thinking maybe I could use one of the small sign pens here. The one pen that I want is not in my hand. Seriously? Come on, pens. There we go. Extra small sign, which is a flexible plastic nib. I'm thinking that maybe I can fix it. You need to make it look like his eyes are open. That's the thing. It looks like his eyes are closed. Oh, now he's smiling. Good Lord. Well, I think it's better. Better than looking like his eyes are closed. I'm not gonna lie, my eyes might be closed if I was doing that. I'd be like, yikes. Some more detail on the wrinkles of the fabric. Okay, I think we're getting there. We're gonna be okay. Is there ever any doubt? No. A little highlight on the nose, highlight on the cheek. These final highlights. Might do some with some pencil, but maybe because I want a little bit of a highlight on the neck. I also feel like that's a little much. Face is overworked, and that's a bummer. That's a bummer, but you win some, you lose some. And all you can do is get up and try again. That's what's so great about World Watercolor Month. It's like you might do something, and you're like, You might do something and you're like, and then somebody else is looking up, that's awesome, You just never know. So do I want to do some like splashes of white? I probably do. I think I'd give him a little glimmer in his eyeball. That looks a little creepy, but all in all, I'm not that displeased. Going full Barry Gibb on his hair here, though. All right, why not? I think we'll do some splatter because I'm not going to make it any worse. I'm kidding. It's fine. Everything's fine. All right, I'm going to get some of that lead proof whiteout onto my palette. I occasionally add some water in here because it will dry out. I've been using this jar for ages. And it's about down to about a third, but man, it takes a long time to use that up. So I show my brush is nice and clean. Oh, that's not too thinned out. Let's see. I think it's all right. Yeah. Oops. What do you think? Be kind. So don't really tell me what you think. I don't want to know. No, I'm just kidding. Let me know what you think, honestly, and everything. I may add a little bit of, yeah. I don't know. I might tweak it later, but for now, I think we're good. I think we're good. So I'm going to do one last call for questions. Oh, look at that. If I hold my camera like that, you can see the piece of deli paper because I'm wicked fancy. No, can you? You can see the piece of deli paper I've clipped over my light to diffuse it. Nothing but the finest in my studio. Okay. All right. A tattoo. A tattoo with a heart and an L in the center. Ha ha ha. Jason would be like, "What is that water skiing man doing with a tattoo of a heart with an L? Who is that water skiing man?" Oh, well, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me today. I know it's probably not the most exciting live stream you've ever seen, but I appreciate it. Nerdy Watercolorist says you could use watercolor ground if you don't like the face. Oh, that's a good idea. I don't think I'm gonna. I don't think I am that invested in this painting, to be honest. But that is an excellent idea. Something tells me if I paint the face with watercolor ground and I try to go back in, that I'm gonna make it worse. And I think I'm gonna leave it the way it is. Just looking to see if there's any other questions while we're because I'm pretty much done here. Lots of talk of PO 49. What have I started? Well, this is great. I don't really see any other questions, but I'm just going to scroll back a little bit more. Oh, Leslie says your painting is great, Lindsay. When you come back to it later, you won't be so hard on yourself. And that's what I say to all my students. I'll be like, just set it aside and come back to it. And it's going to look much better. And I just need to take my own advice, or maybe just take a break and come back to it. And then I'll see what exactly needs to be done to it. So as far as the pens, I've linked to everything if anybody's interested. Um, I've used a lot of things, so a lot of times I'll use something, then I'll be like, okay, in hindsight, this is what I would recommend. I think this really depends on what your skills are and how comfortable you are with pens and with fine liners and brush pens and whatnot. Um, fixed Fixed size fine liners are great if you really want those reliable lines in a reliable size. I do have a page here. It's in right here where I kind of drew them all out so you could see the thickest fine liner is this 1 millimeter and the thinnest is a 0.5. So you can kind of see that range that you get. They're not that hugely different in size, but when you want that specific line, maybe you're inking a comic book or you're inking botanical and you want to really make sure you know what line you're going to get and you don't want to have the variation of your pressure altering that at all, then your fine liners are the way to go. This set does have two brush pens and two sign pens. So these two are the brush pens, these two are the sign pens, and the sign pens are the flexible plastic nib, and the pens are a flexible felt nib. These are disposable. So although they can last a long time, they're not meant to be a permanent pen. So here we have the Pentel Sepia pen, which is that brown ink. It's in a with brush. It has real brush hairs. It will give you a thin line. It will give you a thick line, but it's not going to give you a thin line like that with reliability. It's more of a free form, painterly type of pen, and you can also get that pen in black. Those are refillable. You can get replacement cartridges for it, and I think you probably could eyedropper fill them. I just haven't. Um, but I would just Google it if you're interested to see if anybody else has done it. I'm sure they have, and you can kind of get your idea from that. But if you know you want to do something with liquid ink, what I would recommend is these New Bestie refillable fountain pen brush pens. They are the same idea. Oops, these unscrew instead of just popping on. They have like you stick the whole pen into your inkwell and you twist back this little plunger thing. There's like a little screw in there and that's going to draw up the ink. So that's how you refill them. Just to give you a little idea, you can get a nice fine line like you can with a Pentel, or you can get a wider line. You got to go slow to get a smooth line on watercolor paper because of the texture. But this is a great option. And I'm sure if you found a fountain pen safe waterproof ink, that would work good. I have a water-based ink in here, and that works really well for me. I will wrap up. I will look again for questions before we go. And then for fountain pen versions, I find these affordable pens here. This is like $13. This you get 12 for $18. These pens are great. You can refill them with the cartridges that come with them, and you can put whatever fountain pen safe ink that you want in there. And that's going to be really close. Let's see. This is a Jane Davenport one. That's going to be, I would say, about like a 4 to 5, 0.4 to 0.5 millimeter nib. And the fine shark, I would say, is about a 0.5. But I find it very, very usable for most of my needs. And the Jinhao does make an extra fine one. I haven't used it because I'm afraid of clogging things. So I go with things with a little bit more of a beefy nib. So there's some options. Really, you can find whatever you want in refillable or non-refillable options. One thing I'll say about fountain pens versus a fine liner like this is that, and there's other types of pens that you can buy to refill that are like the rotary pens. They're kind of expensive. I've never used them. When you're buying a refillable option, you've got to take account to the cleaning and the upkeep time, because it's not going to be a refillable pen if you put the wrong ink in there and it dries rock hard and you can't get it clean. Then you got a really expensive disposable pen. So you got to know yourself, and are you the type of person that's going to keep up with cleaning and maintaining a technical pen or a fountain pen? And if you're not, then it's going to be cheaper and probably less wasteful in the long run just to get the fine liners, because you're not going to be throwing away like an expensive pen if you damage it. You'll just have the fine liner. So, and how much do you use it? One of these sets might last you years. So, you got to know yourself and what you're capable of and what you're willing to do to maintain a pen and whatnot, so that you can get the most affordable and environmentally sound selection. It's not a one size fits all. We're all different, and different things are going to suit us more. All right, one last call for questions here. I'm hoping the chat will be available after the live stream, but sometimes it's not. So if you have something you want to make sure stays with this video, a comment that you've left that people really appreciated, go ahead and put it in the comments after the stream is done. That will be very helpful for future viewers. Polyge Art says, did you see above my offer to send you a sample of old and new Daniel Smith Quinn Gold so you can compare and do a compare and contrast video? Oh, that's so sweet of you. I might take you up on that, although I'm partially afraid that I'll fall in love with it's like, I don't want to know about something that's really awesome that I can't get anymore. But I might take you up on that. Thank you very much. That's very sweet. You can send me an email. My email's in the description of any video. Let's see, I think we're good. Oh, I appreciate everybody that was hanging out today and chatting. Somebody says, Mary Irving says, I like the Van Gogh student paints better than the Rembrandt professional paints. Anyone else agree? Mary, I'll say I like them both. I have more experience with the Rembrandt paints. I do really like the Rembrandt paints, but I also really like the Van Gogh, and I highly recommend the Van Gogh student grade paints. Royal Talons does some really nice student grade stuff. And then they even have a more budget line under the Van Gogh, which the art creation line, I think, is done. Oh, thank you, Teresa. Just think, while I'm painting, my voice is calm and slower, and then you ramp back up as soon as the brush goes down. Yeah, I'm so afraid of dead air. I used to be a radio announcer, and dead air was like the worst thing ever. So I think I've got like trauma. I've got dead air trauma. Okay, I think we're good. I think we're good. Oh, Virginia Beach. I'm sorry. I've got my mind on the beach. Virginia Bush asks, "Is Jane and the shark pens good for not skipping on watercolor paper?" Virginia, I think it's going to depend on the ink that you use. I use this right here in mine, and I get a really nice line with it, even on the because I tend to go for a rougher paper sometimes and a heavily sized paper, which would also make it want to skip. And I haven't had any issues with either the Jane Davenport or the Gin House Shark. I would just get whatever you like. This one feels a little heavier. It does. I would say this one does feel a little nicer in your hand. This is discontinued, I believe. I did see that Amazon had like 13 in stock. They come and go, it depends on when stock comes up. Jane might still have this on her website at janedavenport.com if you want to order from Australia. I know she does do deals where like if you order a certain amount, you get free shipping, and she does package things up really nicely like presents. She's a nice woman too, and supporting independent business is nice. These are lighter weight feeling. They're let's see, did the cap post on this one? The Gin House, the cap screws on, which might be handy if you're going to leave it in a bag, but I have this one in my sketching bag and I haven't had an issue. That one just pulls off. Just trying to see lengthwise if that's an issue for you. Same length, really, if you don't have the caps posted. It's just Jane's pen is metal and it's heavier, but it. I'm not that sensitive to the weight of my pen or brush, to be honest. But if it's something that's really important to you, if you want a heavier pen or a lighter pen, that might be a factor in metal versus plastic. But gosh, I don't think you can go wrong with either of them. They both work really well. But these are a fine tip, not an extra fine tip. If you got the Jinhao extra fine, that might skip. I don't know. I haven't used it, so I don't like to recommend products I haven't physically used myself. Which we shouldn't be recommending things we haven't actually used. So yeah, the fine tip anyway, I would say go for it. Diane Riley says, "Have you tried Jane's new watercolors?" I have not, Diane. I don't know how they are. Jane's made some beautiful stuff with it. Oh, Virginia says, "Question as to skipping. I usually journal after I paint, so I'm writing." Oh, well, I think if you're going on a paper that's either just paper or it's just got a light wash of color on it, you're going to be fine. If you're going over thicker paint, like where you've used it more in mass tone, anything could skip on that just because it's going to be glossy because of the gum arabic is going to give it a little bit of a glossy seal, or it's going to seal off the paper a bit, so the paper's not going to have the absorbent grab to it. So that could be an issue. Oops, I just did something. Oh my goodness, I thought I lost you guys. Uh Oh, Artie Jules has a great question. Have you found any prompts to this World Watercolor Month that you didn't like? Oh, wow, that's really good. I wished that the prompt pattern wasn't the first one because I was so excited to do that one, and I really wish that I had a little more. I'll show you what I did for pattern in case you missed it. It's right here. I was so excited to do a still life with a pattern packet in it, and I was like, oh, I just have to be the first one. But gosh, no, I think I've liked them all. Sometimes I'm kind of like, oh, what am I going to do for that? But I think the challenging ones, are the ones that I end up liking the most because they're the most challenging because you have to really think about what you're going to do, and because of that I end up really liking those ones. So no, I guess not. If anybody else wants to share what their least best and least favorite world watercolor prompt was, that would be really interesting. They're always, you can always find something, I find, and it really makes you stretch and makes you think. Sunglasses. Oh, I think you saved the day, Durwood 206. Oh, he's getting sunglasses. We're doing that right now. You just saved the day. You saved my bacon on this one. What are we going to use? We're going to use the Pentel if pocket brush pen, the Sepia one. Sepia. Yes, we're using sunglasses. Thank you for saving the day. We're going to do that right now. That's a brilliant idea. We're going to start small and we'll make them bigger if we need to. I probably should have used a fine liner instead of a juicy pen, but and because I'm filming and I can't, my camera is where I want my head to be. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's so much better. You got to start small because you know those are going to get bigger as you go. Not only do I have the eye problem solved, but the eyebrow problem is solved. Oh, that's awesome. Let's dry that up and give it a reflection. You guys are the best. I feel like this painting was done by committee. I feel like anybody that doesn't have the oomph to do their World Watercolor Month today that was on the stream, I think you could just tag me and say, I helped on that. I collaborated on that. So that's my World Watercolor Month. You know what? You're totally okay too. You're all my collaborators on this painting. We did it together. It takes a village sometimes. Now I need a white gel pen. I need to put a reflection on there. You know, that's all right. I like the cut of your jib, Durwood. I do. Thank you. Let's see. How much of a highlight do I want on there? Let's do a little juice. I don't know. That'd be a bit much. Oh yeah, that's a bit much, but we're gonna let that dry. And he's got those 80s sunglasses that have the slats. I might paint that over again, but it's so small. This area is so tiny. We're gonna have to, I think, maybe let's have like make it look reflecty or something. I don't know if I can do that over black. So I'm just asking for trouble. I am just asking for trouble here. Uh, I'm gonna take a little bit of a safer route and just thin that out a bit with this Biennial pen. It's subtle, it's chic. This dude looks so much better now. He's just cruising. He's unbothered. He's unbothered. Look at him. He's doing his thing. Thank you, Durwood 206, for saving the day. That was good. Well, this was fun. This was so much fun. I hope I didn't miss anybody's question. If I did, post in the comments and I will check back. Oh, and I apologize. I did not get to I was witnessing a wedding this weekend, and so I have not had a chance to respond to any Sat Chat questions. I have scrolled through and looked at them. I appreciate all the comments that were left in Sat Chat. I just I just got I got busy and I wanted to be in the moment and of my friend's wedding, and it was so lovely and wonderful. It was on a boat, so I just had water on the mind, I guess. And yeah, so that's another reason I wanted to do something, be here with the community, um, and just hang out. So yay. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will if I tune this up at all. I might need to sharpen up under the feet and stuff like that. Add a little shadow under the feet. If I tune that up at all, you'll see it in its glory on Instagram later on today. And of course, I'll do a wrap up of all my World Watercolor Month paintings in a live stream, probably on August 1st. So yeah, we'll hang out then too. So thanks again. Please give this video a thumbs up before you go. And until next time, happy crafting. Bye.